Hi, my name is Melanie Lara, and my group partners are Amber Wade and Sanya Bola, and we have created a body systems PowerPoint. Cardiovascular system. The main functions of the cardiovascular system include hormone delivery, distribution of protective agents, and the transport of waste, nutrients, and gases. The cardiovascular system consists of the heart and blood vessels. To transport these materials and oxygenated blood throughout the body, the heart undergoes muscular contractions. Electrical conduction through the heart stimulates these contractions. Oxygenated blood is carried from the heart to the body via arteries and lead into arterioles, which lead into capillaries. To bring the oxygenated blood back to the heart, blood is transported from capillaries into venules, which lead into veins back to the heart. Pulmonary circulation is the flow of the oxygenated blood through the heart to the right portion of the heart, through the lungs to become oxygenated, and back into the left portion of the heart to be distributed to the body. Systemic circulation is the circulation of oxygenated blood throughout the body via arteries, arterioles, and capillaries. The return of the oxygenated blood to the heart via venules and veins. Arteries and veins. Veins are composed of thin, smooth muscle and take the oxygenated blood back to the heart. Veins also have valves so that blood does not flow backward. Arteries are composed of thinner, smooth muscle in order to withstand the high pressure that accompanies the pumping of the blood by the heart. They are narrow in diameter but are elastic to combat the high pressure environment. Venules are smaller than veins and carry blood away from the capillaries towards the veins. Arterioles are smaller than arteries and carry blood to the capillary network for gas exchange. Nutrients such as glucose, hormones, and lymphocytes are also transported throughout the body via the bloodstream. Circulatory systems. Vertebrates have closed circulatory systems consisting of two or more chambers, an atrium and a ventricle. Animals such as fish have a two-chambered heart and a cardiovascular system, which mostly consists of a heart, systematic capillaries, and gills. This system has low pressure. Amphibians such as frogs have a heart with three chambers, one ventricle and two atria. They require less oxygen and mix oxygenated blood with deoxygenated blood in the heart before it is delivered to the rest of the body. The four-chambered heart is the most evolutionarily advantageous circulatory system, and it has allowed for an increase in body size, protection from predators, and the ability to have a higher metabolic rate. This is a showing of the cardiovascular system. Lymphatic system. The main functions of the lymphatic system are the production and transportation of leukocytes, which are cells that trap foreign particles. The lymphatic system is composed of lymph nodes and lymphatic vessels, which transport lymph fluid. Lymph nodes are collections of lymph tissue located in strategic places throughout the body and store B and T cells. The term leukocyte is an umbrella term for white blood cells. Lymphocytes are a subtype of leukocytes and are known as B and T cells. Macrophages, another type of white blood cell that ingests foreign material through phagocytosis. The body is alerted to the presence of foreign pathogens by antigens, which trigger an immune response by antibodies. Immunity. There are two types of immunity that many organisms possess: innate and adaptive immunity. Innate immunity is seen in all plants and animals and produces a non-specific response. An example of an innate immunity in humans is the skin. Adaptive immunity is only seen in vertebrates and is a pathogen-specific. Adaptive immunity involves a response from B and T cells. B lymphocytes will bind to intact antigens and attack pathogens in the blood and lymph circulatory system. This is known as a humoral response. T lymphocytes have the ability to recognize fragments of antigens to attack pathogens that have infected cells. This is a diagram of the lymphatic system. Endocrine system. The main function of the endocrine system is to regulate internal body functions such as blood glucose levels, metabolism, growth, and development and maturation. Important structures of the endocrine system include the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the adrenal glands, pancreas, and many more. Hormones are chemical messengers produced by the glands. They are secreted directly into the bloodstream to to act on the target organ. This system of communication is necessary to bring homeostasis and regulate changes. In order to maintain homeostasis, the body functions on two feedback systems, positive and feedback and negative feedback. Hormones. There are two types of hormones, protein-based hormones, lipid-based hormones. Lipid-based hormones are hydrophobic and lipid-soluble. Lipid-based hormones work by diffusing across the cell membrane and binding to a receptor proteins in the cytoplasm or binding to DNA as a transcription factor in order to turn genes on. Steroids and sex hormones such as aldosterone, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone are lipid-based. Protein-based hormones are hydrophilic and are therefore water-soluble. Because they cannot cross the phospholipid bilayer of the plasma membrane, protein-based hormones bind to receptor proteins on the cell membrane and trigger secondary messenger pathways. Examples of protein-based hormones are polypeptides such as insulin and antidiuretic hormone. Functions of the endocrine glands. The pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is separated into two sections, the posterior pituitary and the anterior pituitary. The posterior portion produces antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, which promotes water retention by the kidneys, and oxytocin, which stimulates contractions of the uterus during childbirth. The anterior section produces thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH, which stimulates the thyroid gland, prolactin, which stimulates mammary gland growth and the production of milk, growth hormone, which aids in growth and development, and melanocyte-stimulating hormone, or MSH, which increases the production of the pigment melanin. Pineal gland produces melatonin, which regulates sleep-wake cycles. Thyroid gland produces T3 and T4, which regulate body temperature, metabolism, and heart rate, as well as calcitonin, which decreases calcium levels in the blood. Parathyroid gland produces parathyroid hormone, which is important for the bone remodeling and increases blood calcium levels. Continued. Adrenal glands. They produce corticosteroid, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. Corticosteroid affects the water and salt balance in the blood and regulates glucose metabolism. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are involved in the fight or flight response. Ovaries. The ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen acts in the development and regulation of the female reproductive system and the development of secondary sex characteristics. Progesterone promotes the growth of the uterine lining. Testes. The testes produce testosterone, which promotes the development of male reproductive tissues and secondary characteristics. Ovaries and testes. Androgens are produced by both males and females and support sperm formation and the development and maintenance of male secondary characteristics. In females, androgens occur in smaller amounts and produce the production of hair growth and estrogen synthesis. The interconnectedness of the human body. Every body system interacts with every other body system in one way or another. The endocrine and lymphatic systems utilize the circulatory system to transport hormones and lymphocytes throughout the body. A prime example of the interconnectedness of the three systems referenced in this review is the histamine response. When pathogens enter the bloodstream, mast cells release histamine, a hormone that initiates a local immune response. Histamine causes vasodilation and swelling, which allows an increase in the number of platelets and clotting factors to an infected area. White blood cells, specifically neutrophils, secrete factors that degrade pathogens, then remove them from the site of infection via phagocytosis. The inflammatory response created by histamine continues until the foreign material is eliminated and the site is repaired. We are going to start with the cardiovascular system. So as you can see, there is a detailed drawing of a heart, and the arrows represent the way the blood flows. So the cardiovascular system, arteries take oxygenated blood away from the heart to the body and veins bring deoxygenated blood back to the heart for reoxygenation. The electrical conduction of the heart to make it beat are done by the bundle of His, the atrioventricular node, the sinusoatrial node, and the Purkinje fibers. The oxygenated blood enters the heart through the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it travels through the tricuspid valve into the right atrium. Due to the lower pressure in veins, blood would flow backwards if it weren't for the valves that allow blood to defy gravity. Veins are larger in diameter. Arterioles branch off of arteries and lead to capillaries to further distribute gases and nutrients. Two-chambered heart are in fish, and they have systematic capillaries for gas exchange. Deoxygenated blood arrives from the body, enters the atrium and then the ventricle when it is pumped to the body via the gills. Blood from the ventricle travels to the lungs and skin where it is oxygenated and also to the body. So we're going to continue with the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system includes B cells and T cells. B cells mature in the bone marrow and respond to foreign pathogens by producing antibodies, and they form a humoral response. T cells mature in the thymus and provide a cellular response system. They have learned to distinguish themselves from other cells so that they don't attack other T cells. When T cells lose this function, they are destroyed during maturation. So we're going to continue with the endocrine system. So in the endocrine system, there are different areas in the body which work towards it. So there's the hypothalamus, and its function is to receive signals from the brain and initiate endocrine signals. Then we have the pituitary, or the master gland, and its function is to produce of hormones to control other glands by releasing hormones and act on other glands. Then we have the adrenal glands, which release fight or flight hormones such as epinephrine and norepinephrine. Then we have the pancreas, which produces insulin and glucagon, and they raise and lower blood glucose levels. So then, besides having those areas which work towards the endocrine system, we have other processes which are the positive feedback and negative feedback. The positive feedback systems amplify the effects of something that is already happening in the body. For example, when giving birth, the hormone oxytocin is released from the posterior pituitary to amplify contractions of the uterus. Then we have the negative feedback. The negative feedback systems work to return the body to its natural set point. When blood glucose levels are high after eating a meal, insulin is released into the bloodstream to promote the uptake of glucose by the liver and other cells. When blood sugar levels far too low, glucagon is released by the pancreas to break down glycogen stored by the liver into glucose, which raises blood sugar levels. Now we have reached the interconnectedness of some of the systems of the body. So an example that we use here is that the histamine immune response includes the circulatory system in order to transport white blood cells. The endocrine system, as histamine is considered a hormone, and the lymphatic system are involved as well for the white blood cells, and macrophages are required to rid the body of a pathogen. Thank you for watching the video. I hope the information helps you on your projects or any other courses that you have relating to epibiology. And a special thanks to my group members, Amber Wade and Sanya Bola.